So I'm going to spend some time studying the three different libraries that are two different libraries that Dolphin uses for implementing File Explorer optimizations. And then maybe later I will continue to work. I solved the problem that I was having with the other components, but probably not gonna talk about it. Yeah, I think that the next thing that I have to do is to move mainly I'm gonna search for places that uses the file system, which is the model, and I have to move all of these functions to the presenter. Then instead of on the places that I'm using this, I'm going to probably emit a signal or something like that for the presenter, and then the presenter is gonna pass through the model, and then the model passes. But I think I'm more interested now. I'm more curious about trying to understand how they implement the optimizations. So I'm gonna go back to I did something on SkyleDraw, like a flowchart, but I lost because when I got into SkyleDraw, it went to another place, and I have a bunch of stuff that I did on here, and I can't find the contents anymore. I wish they had something like a mini map or something like that that allowed you to see like all the parts that you have something on the thing. Because now I can't find anymore by navigating. And I have a lot of stuff here. Yeah, this is Python stuff, C Python. So I'm probably gonna do it again, actually, as I step into there. I'm not gonna step into, but as I look into the code. Like, it is simple to understand, which I like, but it's kind of complicated. So because inside of the class there's a bunch of different functions, so it's gonna take some time to understand how it works. So the main function that I know from this one that uses from KIO is open URL. So I'm gonna start from the beginning here. Like this is the main entry point from the Dolphin, which is gonna be used as far as I understand according to ChatGPT. It's going to be used outside from the shell, the KDE framework shell, which is basically the Linux. I think is a version of the Linux kernel that's going to initialize this probably when you double click a file or double click a folder or something like that. So as far as I understand, these URLs here are going to be. I'm going to have to open like three different windows as well, which might be. There's something that you can do with the workspace, the settings, to differentiate. Maybe we'll do this again. I'm gonna ask GPT. But yeah, the URLs come from the Qt. They use a Qt data structure, I think, and it's basically the main paths of the root folder that's gonna show there, as far as I understand. And then it's gonna call the function from this Dolphin main window class to open the directories. Okay, so it's this function that returns, and it's gonna use this QList QURL. So I'm gonna have to open the Qt source code and search for this stuff. Just waiting to see if it's streaming. So the main endpoint that I'm interested in is going to be these open directories because that's where the optimizations are going to be. It's kind of weird that it's not going to the place there, but it's going to be basically this function, and it's going to call this function from this widget that passes the directories. So I think that this is the main thing that I'm interested on. So I think that's both this view open direct or activates all these functions that this function calls. It's basically looping over the directories and then it's calling this function. So as far as I understand, like this is going to be those functions here are going to be the functions that are responsible for loading the subdirectories of the main folder that is going to show on the window. And I don't remember how it gets to the... Okay, so it's here. So the constructor of this one, this primary URL and then secondary. And it gets from the other, from this thing here. Yeah, primary. So the primary is the current one. What is the secondary? And it's kind of weird, it's just the other one. So it's basically gonna should probably close the other stuff. There is a class. I have on the notes as well. I should open the notes. There is a function on one of these classes that there is a comment talking about the asynchronous stuff. I wish I had the Scatter draw thing that I did there. It's basically a flow charts, and I had the thing on the beginning. But it's basically going to be this one, I think. Okay, so it's related to the models, and there's some stuff about the optimization. So on the constructor of this one is going to initialize the model. I think it's on the container. As a part of the container that initializes the model. This is the stuff that I have to do. I think I have to spend time on the... Because there's also the inheritance that I have to study. I think the Dolphin view container is the one that has the model. Or maybe is the one that this initializes. Yeah, I think it's the view. So this is the container for the view. And the view initializes the classes that are gonna have the optimizations, I think. Or maybe not, maybe it's this one. Oh, so it is this one. So this is the main class, I think, that I'm interested on because it's gonna initialize the view and it's gonna initialize the model. And then it also has a controller on this class. So I think this class would be the equivalent of what I'm trying to do there on Godot. This is kind of weird though, because I think yeah, it's not this one, it's this one actually. So this one initializes the view. This one is initialize the view in the model. So there's two different ones. So the container initializes Dolphin view, and then the Dolphin view is the one that I'm interested on. So there's two different optimizations. One is on the front end, one is on the back end, and I have to think about which one I want to see first. I think the front end is going to be harder. So the front end part is going to be related to Qt, and I'm probably gonna have to look into the classes that these other classes inherit from, because I assume that's on the widget code and stuff like that. They're gonna have the optimizations for the things. Like it's not gonna be. I'm not like obviously I don't know, but I think that it might be. It's probably implemented on the Qt classes themselves and not on this code here. But I don't know. It might be implemented here as well. But I think that the model is probably gonna be easier to start trying to understand. This is the model class. And then they also have the controller, which I don't have. So I'm gonna open the KIO. So as far as I understand, this is the library that they're using on this Dolphin to have the optimizations there. So like the model class comes from this, I think. I haven't opened, like this is the first time that I'm opening this code, so I'm not 100% sure if that's the case or not. But I think it is probably. So K file model, I think is gonna be K item views. So it's probably this class is probably from their thing. Yeah, I think it's from their code. And then this one uses the KIO. I think I wrote down the notes as well. So these are the functions basically. And the main one is open URL. I want to see if I can find. And you can filter the files here. Let's do this. Yeah, so it's probably, so this is a task, but you can find the, sure. Or maybe this is not the best because it's a task. So it's probably this one, actually. Interesting. I'm gonna draw like a simple, so there's two different things that I have to draw. I think that's kind of annoying. I'm gonna put like on a place that there's content around it, so I have less chance of losing later. But I'm gonna do, so there's two different draws that I have to do. One is for the layout of the stuff that I'm trying to do, and the other one is for understanding Qt, KIO, and Dolphin. So my stuff is gonna be FS view. Then it connects with FS presenter or file system presenter. And this connects to the model. This model. So this would be equivalent to Qt6 on Dolphin. Then this would be the controller. I think like this one I'm not 100% sure because they have a different level of abstraction. They have one more class, but I'm not really I don't think it's necessary to create another class. So they have the view there, I think. And then the view has the controller. But in my case, this would be almost as the controller, but probably slightly different. So I have to understand how, so I'm gonna write down the optimizations, I think. I have to write down the functions that they use and clarify the mental model that I need to have. So this would be Open URL. I'm gonna write down the classes as well. Because I'm not gonna copy. I have to study the libraries to understand the fundamental principles, the first principles, and then I have to think about how to implement the first principles using Godot's. So if I remember, it's gonna be this class here. And so it's kind of different, but I think it's probably equivalent. This lister. So I'm gonna search for this one. I'm pretty sure that that's the class that they use there. So maybe I should see the functions. The problem is that it's gonna be different, I think. I think I have to see on the events actually. That's a place that it gets kind of confusing, sure, because there isn't a yeah, but it's probably the events, the stuff that matters. Because what I assume happens is that on the beginning it's gonna run the main function, then it's just gonna this function to open the directory is just gonna set up the initial state, and then the functions of that are probably more related to the optimizations are the ones that are the callbacks to events. But I obviously don't understand how the events work. Yeah, that's the other thing I have to see is the connect function on this connect. I think is from the Qt library. So yeah, it's from the tasks. It's tasks as well. It's probably this class. Subclass. Yeah, so this one inherits from the other one. So they're using object-oriented programming. So the core is probably going to be. So one of the questions would be why they have a core and the other ones. I assume that's probably because there's different kinds of folders. Not really sure though. So maybe the best way to think about this is to go based on what I want to do on Godot. So I need to think about the because it's a different context the way that it works. So the open URL is gonna come from this thing. And this is this cache. Interesting. So this KIO library also uses Qt. This is kind of annoying. So maybe I'm gonna look into the functions first instead of the classes to see. Maybe I should draw and Scott draw there, like to see what are all the functions that happen. Yeah, I'm gonna look into the functions first and probably do a chart with the functions. So open directories. I think this one I remember. This one is just gonna select a tab based on the directory, I think. So I think that this is more related to the way, like the external logic, let's say. So like this is just gonna be used to determine whether or not there was something open, I think. Yeah. So if there was something open, it's gonna activate the view. And it's gonna use view container. It gets the view container and then returns the view container. So guys, this is just setting the. So guys, it's gonna cache the state, and that's why it doesn't need to do anything here. That would be the only explanation that makes sense. Because I think that this is only. Yeah, I think it caches the state on the view container. So it caches the state and caches the view container on the tab. It probably comes from Qt, I think. But I guess that's the main thing that it's gonna do there. Yeah, doesn't come from this stuff. So I think that the show function from the GUI class is gonna be the one that displays the window. And then on the main thing that it does there is either going to load a previously opened view container or is going to create based on the other functions. So the functions that matter are open new tab and open new activated tab. So if something was already opened, this is kind of weird though. I guess it's because it's looping. Yeah, the thing is that I don't understand for sure what it is a tab or like why, because it's kind of hard to picture. Maybe these are the directories, like all the directories inside. So I'm gonna ask ChatGPT just I wonder if I can find. I'm gonna try to find some videos. Is there already? And there is a video here. I already watched some videos about the code, but not the. Haven't seen people using the editor. The not the editor, the file explorer. Yeah, so now it's more clear to me. So a tab is this stuff that shows up here. So it's kind of like a root directory, which is what I was thinking about. 'Cause last time I asked ChatGPT to know if it is this thing, it said that it isn't. But I wasn't sure because I think on the Windows File Explorer you don't have these tabs here. You only have the stuff on top there, the configuration. So that's why I wasn't sure. So I think that the tab class there is the thing that uh, manages the stuff overall, and the view container manages the whatever shows up here inside of the tab. So open new tab is probably going to be the function that opens the tab there. The open new activated tab. So what is the difference? So it's activated. Oh, so this one is when you already have a tab, so it's gonna open another one, and this one is uh, when you're opening the first one, I think. So it's basically the same, but it's gonna change the state of this thing here to change the index. So it keeps track of the index like an array of the tabs on this Dolphin tab widget. Yeah, so now it's making a lot more sense. Okay, so on this one is going to the tab page. So this class is kind of like the manager of all tabs, and I assume that the Dolphin tab page is going to be the class that holds the state of the tab. And these events are for when you change the focus or when you switch tabs, probably. So it is like an object-oriented paradigm where the functionality is implemented inside of the classes. And I think that the right way to look at it is to search on the classes. So the constructor of the view container probably is going to initialize this state, but I think it depends on the cache as well. So I have to see what I have to follow the constructors. So this one inherits from Q widgets. Okay. You already wrote this, but yeah. So there is one. So this one is one of the things that I was thinking about whether or not it's worth it. Sure, it might be worth it actually to try to implement the same way because on the File Explorer here it doesn't have like a different format as far as I know. So you can't see the files and folders as icons in the same way you can on a normal File Explorer. So I was thinking that it might be a good idea to just implement the same way that they implement here. And I assume that they use this grid. This grid layout here is for when you want to display the files and folders as the large or small icons instead of the way that it is here. This is probably another way to set stuff. I think this is probably yeah, it is the one that I was looking at there. This is gonna create the class. So this view here is I think this is gonna be the main view, the Dolphin view. And this it just puts callbacks to What is gonna happen? So it has to be the optimization step should be inside of the. But it is kind of weird because it seems that it's just inheriting from. Yeah, but maybe the other one inherits from another class from Qt. Yeah, probably I think that's the case actually. So the optimizations are gonna on the front end are gonna be on the Qt class inside of the Qt classes, and the optimizations on the back end are the from KIO. But it's probably also on Qt actually. So the main difference, so probably the best way to think about it. I'm thinking from the perspective of the beginning, like when you load the thing. And that's probably because what is happening on the on Godot is that it does like if the directory is large, it doesn't show anything until it loads everything. So I'm trying to go through the same flow on my mind while I go over this, and then trying to contrast with the way that the Godot thing is now. So I have a understanding of how to change this. I should have left the video opened because I can just look into the things here. So the search, I assume that is the thing here. Yeah, grid layout. They probably connect through the constructor, I think, since all of them are passing the thing as an argument there. So this splitter is the parent of all of them, I think. So there's another one. Q scroll area. I assume that this is probably the class that has the optimizations. And then it's gonna change based on the mode here. But it's basically just hiding the scroll bar. So I'm not sure if it has optimizations or not. Let's spend time on the. the model. I guess the thing that I was trying to clarify as well is at one moment is going to call the open URL, but the thing is, might be it's probably based on an event. Oh no, I think it's here. So it's probably here. Yeah, it is here. So I'm gonna go over I'm gonna go over the constructor first. Oh, this is the wrong place. I press F12 to go to the definition, but sometimes you go to the wrong stuff. Oh, I think that one was related to the. That's whatever. Yeah, I was going over the inheritance chain there, and then I was opening the other classes to create the scattered routing. So I'm gonna go. Let's see if there is anything on the constructor, but I think it just initializes like this. Probably. And the main question to answer first is how does it load the data in the beginning? And that's the main difference, probably. One of the main differences. So I'm just gonna spend time there trying to figure out. So it looks like it's gonna be on Qt, the optimizations probably. Or maybe it's going to the... No, but I think it is going to the right place. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to open... I'm just thinking about whether or not it's worth it to spend more time on this one before I open Qt. Because it looks like everything's gonna be on Qt or Qt, however you say that. But I'm not sure if I can trust this because it seems that it's not the correct place. Let's see. Hmm. This is probably a file watcher kind of thing. Like this class here. And then obviously this one's gonna be the cache. Bonds, I'm not sure how they are related. You should probably go from the open URL function first, and then later on try to clarify the other stuff. This must be connected to the other class somehow, but it might not be connected directly here. So might connect somewhere else. Because obviously it would make sense to have this class and not connected with, because it seems that the core kcar directory or kcar dir is the main class of this library here, I think. And this one, the cache is supposed to be the class that's is gonna have the logic to cache, obviously. So there should be a connection between them. But it doesn't have anything here. So I'm gonna start from this one, try to. Also, I didn't open Qt yet, so I'm not really sure if I'm gonna be able to find the functions. Oh, this storage, the storage is from the cache class, so that's how they connect. So when he opens the URL, he opens from this cache. So I should look for the. It's not gonna be. Uh, it might come from the other class. It doesn't have the function. So if it doesn't have the function, that should be. I'm gonna search for the other one as well to see if it has or not. I think that this. Yeah, it does have this function. So I'm not sure why it's not finding here. Oh, I'm searching for the wrong thing. No, I don't know if I search for this. It doesn't have. So I think that the function in the middle probably it has to come from the Qt library, but then it's gonna call that function. So assume that's the first function is the local data function is going to have something to do with the way that Qt manages threads, and then it's going to call list directory on that. So the lister is gonna be the main file, the main class, and it's passing the URLs that were passed there. Let's see what is this. This is very interesting. So here, I think it's like an example of one of the optimizations. The thing that is weird is that unless there could be some optimization on this other function here, and it seems it's getting all the directories. So the logic to determine whether or not it's feasible is based on these functions here, and this one as well. I'm gonna focus on on this first, then maybe I'll go back. I'm probably gonna have to go back later. So this is gonna be the function that it calls there eventually. Assume this is gonna be, it is kind of like the root directory for the current tab selected. I'll be right back. is actually an interesting idea as well. I could expand the class to use tabs as well. Because Godot already has a tab class. So I think it wouldn't be that hard actually. But I think I should do this one first and then I'll think about it later. It's also not that, and maybe in the very far future, it's not the most important thing to do. And I think that this dir item here is the same as the directory, the FS model directory, which is editor file system directory that they have on Godot. So I think it's basically the same class, like same purpose. I'm gonna focus on this case first, which I think it is the case where it doesn't have any data. So it doesn't have a cache of the directory. So it's like the first time that it's opening, I think it's gonna hit this branch here. The weird thing to me is that it is not connecting the directory, so it might be different. This is the item here. So it's basically like this situation, like the comment says here, is the first time it's gonna open, so it doesn't have anything on the cache. So it's just gonna insert based on the URL. It's gonna insert this, it's gonna insert the URL in this stuff, and it's gonna look for the cache based on the URL. But it doesn't have a connection between this item and the list directory here. I think that this list directory is the first function that is gonna load the thing, and the other ones are for updating the state of the two different classes. And this one is probably gonna be to this queue emits. I assume that is gonna be emitting a signal on Qt. So the other one, the Dolphin framework is gonna have it does connect a callback function there to this thing. That's why I wrote this to the scatter draw stuff. So it doesn't seem that it has anything here. So just initializing. And I'm gonna have to spend time on the on SkyDraw, I think, to just create a connection of all the classes because it's very confusing to go back and forth. But it's not that complicated to understand so far. So I assume that it's gonna be the optimizations are gonna be done with these jobs here. I still don't understand how. It's probably something coming from Qt, this new connection here. So it's gonna come from this thread storage again. The do job function. But maybe it comes from the other one actually. It was the same pattern on the other one. It is, yeah, it doesn't make sense because it would be recursive. I see here. Go back to this. Thinking about whether or not I'm gonna have to do everything that they are doing, or if my situation is gonna be different. Because this was something that I was thinking about since the beginning. Like the one of the things that I wasn't sure, and I'm still not sure, is like what happens when you open two different applications. So the problem here is that I don't know very well how it works with the context of the of Godot. Is I think it's gonna be like two different separate processes. So I'm not. I think it's kind of like a different thing. So, yeah, I think that's the difference is that like on my situation there from the application's point of view, every time that you initialize an application is gonna be a different process and is like encapsulated into its own thing. But I think for this stuff here is designed to work for multiple different processes. I think that's like a lot of this code is related to that, and that's why you have these jobs here. Like so a part of the code I think is related to the optimization, but the Q stuff I think is because it's working under the same context on the same operational system. On the video there, the guy was mentioning that the Dolphin is a file explorer for Linux. So it's I think KDE is a Linux distribution thing. So assume that this queue for jobs and some of this code is going to be it's going to be because it is operating with the same context for multiple different windows. I don't get it. Uh, where is this stuff from? Is this from here? It doesn't make sense. Oh, it's not finding a definition. I should try this one. I guess it's this one because the KIO is the namespace. So it's gonna be this function. I'm gonna call this one. This is weird. Obviously, it's gonna be another library, but let's see. I'm gonna search for the GitHub repo. So it's on a different project. I think for what I'm doing, probably doesn't matter that much. Or maybe it does actually. Because from what I've seen there it doesn't seem that it has anything interesting besides. So like, unless the optimizations are happening on these classes here. But I thought that it would be here. Yeah, so maybe it is. It's kind of harder to find the classes because I don't have the project. It's not built, so I think that's you can't find very well. Hmm. So it has to come from the. Where's this class? Jesus, there's so many classes. Nice, they have flowcharts here. Hmm. So I guess you can clone from here. Hmm. Trying to think about like what is the best way to go about doing this. So I need to create like a hierarchy of importance of which thing to search for first. And maybe I should draw on ScalyDraw like what I'm trying to achieve first, because then I can iterate. So like I think I have to like incrementally try to implement stuff, but maybe I should get a better overall view of how it works. And also, it seems very useful. Like I didn't know that they have this stuff here, so this is very useful. But the thing is, I have to use this, and then they probably have for all the classes here, like this flowchart. But I need to create like but maybe they have the connection between the ones that I'm looking on here and I need to like get the overall picture of how it works. So like it seems that yeah, the thing that I don't know is whether or not this is going to be the optimizations are going to be done on the job classes or they're going to be done on this UI thing here. They're both from the job, but at this one it doesn't have anything here. So you just initialize this job, so it has to be on the function, I think. Set UI delegate. And this one seems to come from the simple job thing. This doesn't have anything here, which comes from the compose or whatever. Say that. Also, let me search for this func here. So I wonder if they have I think it's list job. I'm not really sure if I like this as well. As like I don't know if it's overly complicated for my case there. So I think I get understand what they did here. So basically they created right, they use the object-oriented paradigm. So they basically are creating different classes for different kinds of jobs, and then for each job, I assume that they're gonna have like threads, or either one thread or more threads to do each job, and then based on each action on the core dir list or the main class there is going to use specific jobs for specific tasks. And the jobs have the abstractions that are built on top of the base class. And then probably these jobs are gonna, so based on what I've seen here, they're gonna interact with the other libraries that I don't have access here. So I have to clone the repository there. And then probably on like, I think I haven't seen anything here. So probably on those libraries, they're gonna have functions that are going to like get the data, and either that or they are using Qt, and then Qt is gonna get the data. Yeah, so it seems that the base is gonna be this composite job. So the thing that I'm not 100% sure is whether or not I need to do the same thing there, or if it makes sense for me to try to incorporate jobs, or if I should, because I think another way would be just to have like several different trans on the model class. And then for each task, I just use a different run. Well, like it might be beneficial because like obviously for now I just have the simplest functionality there, and I think that on Godot like the original classes on Godot they also only have the simple functionality, which is just the file system change, which observes for changes, and the scan the directory, which is gonna update the directory in the beginning. So I think that's like maybe it doesn't seem that it's necessary to do this for now because it doesn't have like a lot of functionality. But if I want to implement the same thing that they did, then it might be a good idea. So like what I would have to do is just create other classes and then just basically try to see what is useful from these jobs hierarchies that they have, and then like translate the classes into the Godots. But I'm not really sure if it's worth it or not. But based on the flow there, so it's going to list directories here. This is the first time that it opens the directory, which is the stuff that I'm interested on now. So it opens from the cache, which uses the Qt threads, whatever, the class from Qt. And then it's gonna call this list directory from that, and then it's gonna hit this the first time. So it caches the URL on this thing here, and it caches this on the cache, this class here, which is the cache thing. Yeah, so this is the cache, so it's gonna cache the thing, the URL. Does it cache the data? Yeah, so it appends this on the data. The data cache. I guess this is not the... No, it does append on this value of their data. I think it only... It doesn't do anything. It's interesting. Yeah, but I'm not that interested on this now. So it's gonna hit this part here. And the main function is gonna be this one. So that's the first time that it's probably gonna open the files and folders of the URL. So obviously it has to be done through this job here. Actually, it could be these other functions as well. But I think it's unlikely. So I think it's more likely these are probably just functions to update the state of the other class. Should keep track of the... Because probably when the job is finished, there's going to be something on this class, which is the original one, the core lister that has that called this function on the return there. So open URL is going to call this other class, and this lister here is the original one. So these are kind of like events, I think, and they're just going to keep track of the data of the job. But the main one should be on this list here. And this is gonna initialize this new job with this class. But it doesn't look like it has... So like either the functionality is gonna be inside of the constructor, which I think is not. But I don't think I've seen all of them. This string here is interesting, but it doesn't seem... It seems that it's just putting the root directory on the string. But maybe when you initialize the string, there's something that happens. It might be the case actually. So the constructor of the string might be... It could work like a thread, like in the same concept as a thread, where on the initialization you're passing the stuff you want to do. So it's gonna write the information of this thing here. Couldn't set the args when calling the parent constructor, so do it now. But I don't think that this is the stuff related, or because I think that the first thing that I'm trying to figure out is how does it make sure that it doesn't stall on the beginning. So I assume like it has to, this job here somewhere, it has to have a limit or something, a heuristic that determines like from the beginning there's going to be a range of data that it is going to load until it sends a signal or something, like a event, in order to update the front end. So that has to happen somewhere. Otherwise, it wouldn't make any sense, because like this physically, like it's extremely unlikely that I think it's going to be very fast, a lot faster than the one that I have there, because it's both C++. So Makes sense that for each file it should take around like maybe if it's very fast, it's gonna take around 5 milliseconds, but it doesn't matter anyway because I'm 100% sure that if you open a very big directory, it's gonna seem that it loads right away. So the only thing that makes sense is that there's gonna be at some points it has some heuristic of a range that is gonna determine that is the limit to send the data to the front end. So it starts loading the thing on the beginning, like on yeah, on the beginning, and then it's gonna continue to work on the task on the background. But it seems that is not that there isn't anything interesting here. So this one doesn't do anything. So the main function is gonna be this one, I think. This is the new job that is called from this. I have to remember the data. So it's gonna be false, everything else I assume. So the flags are gonna be false. Yeah, so it's false is just empty stuff. So this one doesn't seem to do anything as well. The constructor. It's kind of annoying because it doesn't go to the right place, I think. Yeah, but this doesn't do anything. Initializes this one. So it's initializing. So it's kind of like a. It's like a method class in Python. So it's like a function that is initializes its own class with additional stuff. But this one is just so it's not gonna do anything interesting besides calling the constructor of this, I think. And this one just initializes some other stuff. The command I don't think is gonna have anything interesting. It's probably just a specification of what the thing should do. A command list directory. So it's like an enum probably that determines what task the job is gonna be doing. Yeah. I'm gonna write this. This seems interesting. Yeah, I guess this is gonna be a difference in the way that it is now, because I think the way that it is now, like there isn't any events on the model. The model only has the threads, and it works based on the functions. So I think that the events on the model have to kind of like reflect the events on the thing, maybe. But I think that's gonna be slightly different, maybe, because here they are using other classes to for the file dialogues, and but the function for the events is on this class, but I think it's related to the tree as well. Like when you right click a class, for example, like the stuff that shows up here, the function is going to be defined here of the stuff that shows up. Yeah, I think it's going to be it is on this class, but it's related to the three items. And then there's going to be I think I moved to this function here. So for each one of the options there on the pop-up menu that shows, there's going to be a callback function. And the question would be, this is something else, I think, but it's related as well. Yeah, so is this function here. This is the function that has the options, like it determines what happens after you click on one of the options. So like the pop-up menu is created later, and then the callback function that determines what's going to happen based on what you select is going to be through this function here, and it's done with the enum. So it's on this thing here, and this is going to be the one that is used, I think. So it's both this on the tree and this on the file list. So the thing is, I think that like, so the question is whether or not there needs to be a correspondence between these events and the model. So it seems that's the way that they designed there. So there is the enum on the model parts because it's going to. So the way that they are doing is like they have a base, they have a class hierarchy of jobs, and then depending on what kind of jobs it is. So like the base class is the fundamental stuff that happens for any job, and then the derived classes are for specifics of each job. Then based on the view is going to call the function from the model, and then the model is going to have the enums. And I think that the enums are going to be a reflection of what kinds of events you have on the front end as well. Because obviously, like it's directly correlated, I think. But I think I'm going to focus on the events later. I have to focus on the like the simplest case possible, which is when you open the thing for the first time. But yeah, so I'm trying to create a or clarify the create a mental model of how the whole thing works first. Like how their thing works and how it's going to if it is going to be different or not in the way that I'm trying to do here. So I think instead of doing what I'm doing here, I should. So this is the thing that creates the menu there. It puts the callback function, and this is gonna put the options based on the icons, and it's just gonna call the same function, which is basically this one. And this one calls the other one, which is the file option on the default. So I think on this situation here is the function, that's the function I'm gonna change probably. So I do think that it makes sense to send the signal. I think based on the way that they are doing, or maybe, yeah, like I think it's gonna depend on what kind of thing it is. Because for some of them probably don't need. Yeah, for some of the stuff you don't need to update the model. So it depends on what you do. So I think that whenever an option is gonna change the file system, so like adding a new directory, I think, or stuff like that, I'm gonna have to send an event to the presenter, which is gonna send it to the model. And the model is gonna have a task. So either I'm gonna do a thread or I have another. I do the same thing that they are doing. I have job classes, and then each job is works based on the events that are sent here. Yeah, I think I have to connect these events with the model. I wonder. So this would be one of the questions because I think that right now they are not sending anything because the operating system is gonna be like it's gonna know that the file name changed. So I was thinking like if it, because right now it does update correctly because like the thing is in the like the model is independent of this thing because it's communicating directly with the operating system, so it doesn't need to update. The question is whether or not they on their stuff is like that as well. I think it probably is. So maybe the events on the backend are different. Yeah, so it's probably like connected just with the presenter. So because depending which kind of thing you want to do, you need a different job to do it. So I think it's just events on the presenter. I do think it's kind of different though, because not really sure what you think about this. I think that is different because like some actions can impact the jobs. So I think the reason why they didn't do it like they don't have a connection or they don't emit signals for these events here. They just update the front end is because the way that they did it, the backend, which is the editor file system, only has access to the operational system. So like it works independently of the other one. It just generates the directory based on the operational system. It generates everything at once. But I think it becomes a problem when you have multiple different jobs and like because let's say like you can have different events at different phases of the life cycle. Let's say of when like like you begin loading the data of the directory, and let's say you pass a job to do that. Then something happens on the front end, then it might mess up the consistency of the data because you have to from the class that is updating the model, you have to go back or like probably create another thread or something, and then you have to change the data. That's the other one because you're still gonna have the threads up loading everything while there are events happening on the front end. So I think that's probably the main difference. So it feels unnecessary if you only load once because the model doesn't need to be aware of what's happening on the front end. It's just gonna communicate with the operating system directly. But if the logic on the model depends on what's happening because it can happen at the same time, then I think that it might be necessary. But the question is, wouldn't just using the 3 axis again to communicate with the operation system is not gonna get the most updated part. But maybe like there's the priority of what folders you're gonna open as well and stuff like that, and what's showing because hmm. Yeah, the data structure that connects both of them is like the front end is gonna be a reflection of the. It is weird. Like, how does it work here? think it's based on the pop-up. So it's gonna have an event based on this. I don't remember if there's anything connected. It should oh, it just rescans. Yeah, so that's how they connect. So I think whenever there's an event here that is supposed to change the state of what's being shown, you're gonna call this function, which is the scan, and then the rescan is gonna call the scan on the file system, which is the model in the backend. So that's the stuff that is gonna change. So they do have a communication there. So I assume I'm probably gonna have to implement something like this as well. So, but the one that I'm not 100% sure is the jobs yet. So I have to spend more time to see if it's actually necessary. Because even though the stuff that I'm doing is simpler, it's obviously better to set up things in a way that you can easily scale if you want later. So easily add more stuff. So for that reason, I think it might be worth it to create classes. But the thing that I don't like very much is it seems like overly complicated based on the class hierarchy. But it's very difficult to know for sure. Because like the question, obviously you can always do everything you do with class hierarchies with functions on the same class, and then change the data structures that you use on that class. And the question is always going to be whether or not it's worth it to do this, because it's the boundary of the data that matters. So like on the example of the Bezier curve, I think that it made a lot more sense to create only one class, and then have in my mind it makes a lot more sense to have one class, and then for each different type of Bezier curve you create a unique function on that class. So the thing that I'm thinking about is like, if it isn't the same situation here, where like doesn't it make more sense to have only one job class, and then for each different thing you're gonna do, you just create the logic on the class. You just create different functions for different things, and then just if you need more things, you just create like enums or structs or other structures inside of the class to change the flow. But I would say I don't know because I don't know enough. So like I think I have to spend time thinking about what questions should I ask to clarify this. So maybe one of the questions would be, how is it communicating with the operational system? So I'm gonna have to spend time looking into see if I can find the code for the other libraries. But before I do this, I have to make sure that is the right direction. Like if the optimizations are done on these other libraries, which I think they are probably. I think the arrow is on the direction of the inheritance. So this one is gonna, at the base class, gonna be the object. And then this key job. I wanna see if I can clone this. But I have to spend more time thinking about it because there's so many repositories and I don't want to open everything at the same time because it's going to be very confusing. So I have to clarify one thing at a time, and I need to think about the boundaries of each thing. But from what I've seen there, it doesn't seem that it has anything on that. Like the optimizations are not done there. So maybe I should spend more time here trying to. The problem is it's kind of hard to keep track of each thing. So this one is the one that is kind of recursive there. So that the one inside I know that it doesn't do anything. This one just this same class is just gonna initialize this simple job. So it passes initialize this with this command. And so I should look for the functions first before the constructors first, then the functions that the other classes use. Because it doesn't matter if they have other functions here. But maybe it should work. Should look into these other functions as well to understand what is the purpose, like what the class usually does. So this one, this is the other class. Simple job init. What is defunc? Problem is like I don't know for sure if it is going to the right place or not. I'm gonna ask ChatGPT to see what it says. So this pimple pattern I've seen on there's a project or like a library called 3PP, which is the C++ version of 3JS, and they use this pattern, which is kind of I do remember there's videos. Maybe I should watch them again, but it's very not very confusing. It's kind of annoying. It's like creating an extra layer of the class or something like that, and then you access the original one through a member variable, a private member variable, or something like this. Yeah, so I assume that it's gonna be this one. And if it is this one, it doesn't have anything here. Just this timer. Oh, there's a scheduler thing there. Also, this thing, good job. Yeah, so this was one of the functions that I was looking at before. To assume that this has to be the function that actually initializes or starts the job. But this, like, it's just gonna put the thing on the queue, just the queue map. So maybe this other stuff here. This is the stuff that I was looking at before. So maybe it's this function here. Start a job. I think that's probably the function that is going to initialize the job. So the other stuff, the UI stuff, that should be related, but maybe the optimization is here. Jobs. I think after this, I'm going to spend time on the Qt to search for the ones that I've seen so far. There's also the Q URL. I'm gonna look into this. Just to clarify more how it works. Good job maintaining the queue environment. Yeah, so it has to be this function here. So this one's gonna create this worker. The worker is probably gonna be the thing that's obviously, as the name says, works on the job. So it creates a worker, then it sets up the worker with the scheduler, and then starts the job. Yeah. Is this the same one there? I think that this is a different. There was a similar function to this. Like it seems more complicated than it has to be for my case. I'm not sure if it is because it does a lot more stuff, or if it is because it can be simplified for my case there. It's going to be different regardless because I'm not gonna use Qt obviously. So I'm gonna have to change stuff, but so it sets up a bunch of events, which makes sense. Mm. I think I see like I'm probably gonna have to create another class. I'm still not 100% sure about the if it's necessary to create like a bunch of other classes like they created here. But I do think I'm gonna have to create another class because it makes sense that because like each job is its own thing, so it doesn't make sense to put the events on the model class unless maybe it is possible. I think it is possible, but I'm not sure if it's. It would just be more complicated, I think. It's the same thing that I was talking about. That it's kind of hard to know which one's better. 'Cause it would be essentially the same thing, but then the difference would be on the data. So like if I put everything on the model class, I can create like a signal, and then I pass the information on this on the callback function instead of uh, connecting the functions or connecting the job. Every time that I create a new job, I connect a different signal to the job that would keep track. But I think that's probably easier to manage because you would need like you would get very confusing when you have a bunch of different jobs to use the same function on the model class and then pass arguments to determine what the data what what's the job like you would have to find what thread is working in what. So I think that this way makes more sense. So I'm probably gonna have to create at least one more class, which is gonna be the job. At least two more classes because having this worker probably makes sense as well. But I'm not 100% sure. And then the only difference would be instead of using this thing here to connect, I would connect signals normally. So this connects the signal to the callback function that is the job. The callback class, or the parent class is the job, and the job has the worker. So I think a job has many workers. Oh, they also have a variant class. Interesting. I'm gonna have to look into this UI stuff because it's probably through these functions that like the these functions are probably the ones that contain the signals that emits to the front end, and that's how it synchronizes. So this worker probably inherits from this slave base. It's going to the wrong place. This is the one that I opened before. Yeah, this is a lot actually. Also, the worker interface is here. This inherits from the worker interface. We finally got to the point here. Hmm. I'm not sure when they open the sockets, but looks like they are using sockets. Like it's probably it's probably because of the way that Qt works with the Q URL there. There's some stuff that reminds me of these kinds of things on the other functions. So like it's kind of like the same way that you have like network protocols between the browser, the front end, and the server. It's like basically the same thing. They're using a socket to send the information. But I'm not really sure. So it might be because of this here. Like I'm not really sure how that makes it so that they can incrementally send the data. But it's probably because of the buffer. Header size plus sure. Yeah, it's definitely the buffer. So they get the data size and then they pass to this. So this is the thing here. So I'm gonna write this function. This is the final function. So the reason why they're able to incrementally send is because they set a limit on here, and they use this buffer to write to the sockets, and then they have all the other events along the way. So basically the way that it works is actually not that like, it's very complicated when it comes to all the connection of the classes and stuff like that. But on the concept level, it's not very hard to understand. So the model has the job class, and the job class has like a bunch of different variations of jobs or private job, whatever, like the thing there is. And then this job is gonna have a bunch. This job is gonna have the worker that is gonna use the socket, and I think it uses strats as well there. And then the socket's gonna be is gonna set up the buffer. And then the job I think has events and the worker has events as well. So that probably like if the on the while loop here, as it's sending the data, if something else happens, probably it sends the information. So the event gets triggered and then it's gonna do something with here, I think, or if the buffer, or both. And I assume that they do it like this so that you can have several different jobs, one for each thing, and then you can separate. It simplifies the logic for the signals because each collection of signals is attached to a different job, and you can do it in a different way by instead of putting the information on the class, you create a function and then you make it based on the arguments of the function. But I also think after learning assembly, that's just it makes a lot more sense to decrease the amount of arguments on functions because of the registers. So for beyond 4 registers, you're gonna put this stuff on the stack, and I think that makes it less efficient. So you should always try to minimize the amount of arguments up to 4, I think. Well, I'm not 100% sure about this, but just intuitively makes sense. Because the first 4 are gonna be put on registers. And this allows the compiler to optimize as well. Because what the compiler does is the static single assignment, one of the optimizations, which makes it each assignment should be a unique variable. And it does that in order to translate, because usually you're gonna have several more different variables. I think in most cases you probably have more variables than you have registers on the CPU. So you need to implement an algorithm that's gonna translate all the allocations, so all the assignments into the registers. And on this translation, then obviously you can have a bunch of different optimizations. So I think that the way that they did it probably makes sense. Which means I probably have to create another this job class here. But I still don't understand very well how it works. Because there's a bunch of different classes. So maybe I think I should spend some time with ChatGPT as well and try to or like navigate this documentation here to see. Or maybe I should write down the name of the classes first. Already cloned the other ones. So I'm gonna clone this one as well. So I have to clarify the relation between this delegate thing here and the worker there. So how is this related to the view? I think that's one of the questions. Because it should send the data. And the other thing is what events should I look for first? But I have to, this another thing that I have to see on there. It's one of the main things probably. Puts here first. And then the Q object as well. Qt. Qt. So as far as I've seen, it's very similar to Godot's. Like it's the same. It's just object oriented, and the name of the classes and everything is very similar. It's the same patterns basically, just different names for the things. So it's the same on this one, I think. Jobs delegates. Oh, this is different repositories, so that's why it's different. I'm gonna put this on ChatGPT and then ask to explain. Actually, I'm gonna open a different thing. I'm gonna use ChatGPT to see if I can clarify the bigger picture of what is going on. So I'm gonna try to walk through it by putting the functions, and then like I try to use it to create a flowchart of what is going on. Okay, I'm just gonna ask for the name of the class. I'll be right back. So I should probably spend some time on Qt now, and then I'll continue to do this offstream. Should follow this stuff. Yeah, let me just spend time on this one. Don't remember if it's Qt object or not. I think it's Q object. Yeah. Yeah, I think I have to narrow down because I think that the this folder here, I don't remember exactly how I got it, but it probably has everything that is included is too big. There's a lot of stuff. So I think I have to open one by one. Probably Qt base or Qt base is the one that I want. I'm gonna open again. I'm gonna open from the this base. It's gonna be faster. The first one is the sender signal. And so the third argument is the receiver. And this doesn't make sense, Shamir. Because the way that it looks here, it seems that it's true callback functions. So the receiver, the sender, and the receiver is obviously very simple to understand. There's gonna be a function. That should be the function of the class. Well, here it doesn't have any function. Hmm. Yeah, so it's gonna send this stuff. So the types, the templates, function one. Trying to relate to but there's no. Yeah, I think that is like the first one is the one that sends and then the function does. But this one I'm not really sure if it's saying signal, but the signal is emitted with Q emits, I think. So does that mean that it's gonna call Q emits with this function? So like this one sends the signal, and then the callback function is gonna be done by this object, and this is gonna be the function that's gonna run. So the example, I think that's yeah, this is gonna be the so this Q thing here is going to call this slot metadata, and I think that this Q is just the yeah, should be a class of this. This Q like it's kind of hard to know because just one letter, so it's kind of hard to find. And doesn't have anything here. I assume that it is from the object class. Something related to that. And that's not gonna. Probably because of the thing in the beginning there, or on the. Where is this thing? Yeah, here. So the worker is gonna send, and this class is gonna receive. So when the worker calls metadata, this class is gonna call slot metadata. But the thing is that the worker doesn't have a metadata function. Maybe the second argument's actually the data, like the argument that is gonna pass, not the callback function. I think that's probably more likely. So the first one is what's gonna send the signal. The second is arg the argument that is gonna pass. How does it know that? I'm not really sure if that makes sense. I'm still not really sure if I understand. Obviously, so I think that both these signals and these lots are related through that. Not sure if I understand how it works though. I'm gonna search for the URL. I'm gonna watch videos, I think. So I'm gonna search for the keywords and watch videos, and then spend more time with ChatGPT. Yeah, I need to spend more time clarifying the signals. Like I need to understand how this works. If I have the correct, it's kind of confusing. It doesn't seem that I have the correct way to think about this. Is it like it seems that the first one, in the first and the third arguments, I think I'm probably correct, and it's very easy. Like it's just the sender and receiver. Then the fourth argument is probably the callback function, I think. But this argument, I'm not really sure what it is. I'm not sure if it is like a function that you call when you are emitting the, like you use Q emit and then you pass a function. Actually, I should search for Q emits on the thing. So fourth is probably the callback function. So the only one that I don't know is the second argument, and I'm not really sure how it's gonna pass the arguments to the callback function. That's what I have to clarify. Submit. I should put this in order of what is most important to understand first. I think probably the connect is the most important, so I can be sure that I'm thinking about it in the correct way there. The main thing that I have to clarify is still is the arguments. The other ones are probably correct. So the first one's gonna be the one that sends, and the last ones are gonna be the callback function. Then I have to clarify the whole connection from the open URL to the socket there. I think I have to on SkyDraw I have to draw the connection from the open URL to the last function to the socket, this function here. And once I have that clear, I have to see, because I want to understand like what happens in the beginning. And this comes from Qt as well. Qt. So I have to clarify this one first as well. Local sockets. But I think that this is from the web server, I think. or from some other library, but I'm gonna search there. The first one should be the connects, and then the local sockets. Connect, KIO makes. Because I have to understand how this thing works here. This is obviously gonna write, I think this is from the C++ library. So it's gonna write the data from that passes here, and this I have to clarify as well what is gonna be this data. But I think it's just gonna be. Actually, I'm not really sure if it is the. Yeah, it should convert somewhere before that, and then it's gonna write on this buffer based on this size. And now I don't remember how I got to this function. I think it's just writing to the buffer here, the data from here. And then it's gonna use the socket to write the data. But I think that this is probably not sending the data or not sending the data to the directory, just the header. There's a header to make a call to a server. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go over this upstream and then I'm gonna draw the on sky draw there the connections. Because I need to keep track of the data, I think. And the thing is, I'm not really sure if this function is the one that I'm thinking about. So like I assume that the initial load that is gonna happen is gonna be based on the events. That's that's the part one of the parts that are missing. So I think that's like the final function that I get by following the execution is not gonna be the one that's lets the front end know or sends the data to the front end to load. I think that's is some of those events there, I think. Also, I think it's just an optional thing. And it's based on the function there. I think the only way is to see on the object how the connect's gonna change the object. I have to see the implementation, Problem is that I don't know for sure which one of this is. I think that it's probably this one, most likely. So the implementation should be this. Just gonna call with this thing. Now that I think about it, never realized this. It just hit me now. That is basically the same thing as Haskell, the two dots there. Yeah, I'm gonna stop streaming and I'm going to do the flowchart there. I think that's the best thing to do. Then I'm gonna spend, I think I'm gonna open a new chat with GPT and then I'm going to probably watch videos as well to clarify the object and then look into the source code more until it's very clear to me how it's supposed to work. Those are the first three that I'm going to focus on Qt so I can understand the other one. But I'm going to draw the flowchart probably first, I think. I could probably watch videos first and then draw the flowcharts. So I need to have a, don't need to, but it's probably a lot better and easier. So I have to get the flow from the open URL, which is the function that's going to be called there on the model on the Dolphin view. So from the open URL to the final function that gets called there on the whole flow, then I have to make sure that, because now I'm not 100% sure that it is the socket function. I don't think that is this function here. This function is probably just like, the thing is that I don't remember how this function gets called, so I don't know for sure what is this data here. But I think it's just the header that it's gonna be used to just send information with the socket. Yeah, I probably gonna have to. Yeah, so after I have the flow and I know what functions like look like they might be the ones that are that load the data. I think this one could be one of the functions that is the final function that's gonna load the data. But the thing is, it could be one of the functions on the signals. That's the thing. And obviously, it's gonna be related because it's gonna be based on signals. I think that's the. I think the main thing that I wanna figure out in the beginning is this part of how is it determined what's gonna be loaded first. So like the range, that is the, and it's probably gonna be related to the socket. So obviously, like, you have the whole amount of data you need to send, and then you need to send a lot less than that in the beginning if you're sending a lot of data to the front end so that the front end loads right away. So that's the thing that I'm trying to figure out at first. And once I figure that out, once I find the functions that look like that they could be the functions, I'm going to study the classes on Qt, all the classes involved on that flow. Then clarify how the classes work. And then once I have an idea of how it works, then I'm just gonna keep writing down the first principles, like the structure of the way that it works, and how they are converting the data to the classes, how they're structuring the classes. And then once I have that, then I can start implementing on Godot. Which I'm probably now, just by today, I have an idea, which I'm probably gonna create another class for the job, and then create this other class for the worker. Godot has a thread worker pool within class, so I might have to search in the documentation, but I think it's different because I'm probably gonna create the worker class, and the worker class is gonna use the other thread classes. But I need to make sure first if it is necessary or not. Yeah, so I'm gonna stop here. Next time I'm probably gonna continue to do this. So study the 3 different projects and then convert the information to the Godot until I get to a point. I think I'm gonna try to at least get to the point where I can load the directory very fast, and I can incrementally load, and I have the overall structure. I'm not really sure if I'm gonna implement the file watcher right away and try to implement a bunch of other stuff. Probably not. I just want to get to the point where it's like good enough that it works and has the basic functionality. Then once I get to the point, I'm gonna think about whether or not it's worth it to continue to finish implementing this, or if I should start implementing the other stuff, which might be hard as well, and then come back to this later. But probably next time the stream, I'm for sure going to be continue to try to clarify everything and then translate to Godot. So see you then.